The Middle East is once again at a boiling point. The decades-long tension between Iran, the United States, and Israel has reached an incredibly dangerous new phase, and honestly, the whole world is holding its breath. Today, we're going to unpack this deepening crisis. So let's dive right in.
It's the question on every headline right now, isn't it? We're seeing news of attacks, retaliations, and growing instability. But what's the real story behind all these headlines? In this explainer, we're going to break down the recent events, look at the deep roots of this conflict, and figure out what it all means for the world, and especially for India.
To really get a grip on the situation today, we have to start with the recent events that basically lit the fuse on this powder keg. Look, this isn't a new conflict, but it has definitely entered a much more dangerous phase. This crisis unfolded in a really rapid chain of events. It kicked off with joint U.S.-Israeli attacks targeting Iran. Iran, of course, retaliated almost immediately, which escalated the situation from a limited strike to a much more open conflict. Then, the death of Supreme Leader Khamenei created a massive power vacuum, sending shockwaves across the region and sparking widespread protests and violence inside Iran itself. Each event directly fueled the next, creating the perfect storm we're seeing today.
But here's the thing. These events didn't just happen out of the blue. They're just the latest explosion in a conflict that's been simmering for decades. So to truly understand what's going on, we have to look at the issues that lie right at its core.
At its heart, this is all about geopolitical tension. That strained relationship between nations as they compete for influence, security, and power. For years, Iran, the US, and Israel have been locked in this complex struggle. Iran wants to establish itself as the dominant power in the Middle East and keep its adversaries at bay. For Israel, the #1 threat is a nuclear-armed Iran and its proxies, like Hezbollah. And the US? Well, it wants to protect its allies, ensure the free flow of oil, and maintain its global influence. These deep, conflicting interests are the foundation of a long-standing hostility that makes any single incident incredibly explosive.
Now, you might be thinking this is just a regional problem, but the truth is, when a fire starts in the Middle East, the smoke often spreads across the entire globe. So let's break down why this matters to everyone, no matter where you live. The global impact is really felt in 3 critical areas. First, oil prices. A massive chunk of the world's oil supply passes through crucial choke points here, like the Strait of Hormuz. Any instability can send prices at the pump skyrocketing everywhere. Second, international trade. Major shipping lanes like the Suez Canal run right through this region, and a conflict can disrupt supply chains for everything from electronics to food. And finally, global security. The biggest risk is that this conflict could draw in other world powers, turning a regional crisis into a global confrontation. Okay, let's zoom in from that big global picture and focus on India. For India, this is not some distant problem on the news. This has direct and immediate consequences.
The impact on India is really 3-pronged. Our economy is heavily dependent on the Middle East for oil, which makes us incredibly vulnerable to price shocks. A huge amount of our trade with Europe relies on routes that pass through this region, putting both our imports and exports at risk. And most importantly, there are the security concerns. The safety of millions of Indians working in the Gulf is a top priority, and regional instability could easily spill over into our own neighborhood. So, with the stakes this high for the region and for the world, the biggest question on everyone's mind is, what happens next? Where does this crisis go from here? And that's the ultimate question, isn't it? Will diplomacy manage to win out? Or will this cycle of attacks and counterattacks spiral out of control into a full-scale war? Every nation is watching, because the answer is going to shape international politics for years to come. And that's the reality of where we stand today. The future of this crisis is deeply uncertain. All we know for sure is that the entire world is watching the decisions being made in the coming days and weeks, because the consequences will be felt by us all.